experiences the home and growth. This reality for some of the original residents in our state, some of the things have going on today. Not guessing, not hypothesizing, to listen faithfully for all of every day. About individuals who are living between what they've grown and are stressed. Residents tell us about their stress levels, how tired they are, their embarrassed, and we're still but that's all. Let's not kid ourselves or try to keep anyone else as long as they're not informed by that. Policymakers really want to know not from the industry, it should come from individuals living in these spaces, and I would encourage any of you to ask me to come out, and we will take you to a nursing home to talk to the residents directly, which we've done. Some people have asked me to go, and I'm happy to take anyone who wants to go. Let me read you some of the quotes that we got from residents over the past week who are living in these rooms. One said, when my family calls, I have to choose. Do I talk quietly so the whole room doesn't hear, or do I speak loud enough so my daughter can understand me? Another one said, when one person gets sick, we all sit here listening to them cough and wondering when it'll be our turn. The third person said, a curtain is just a sheet. I can hear every word when the doctor talks to my roommate about her cancer. When it's my turn, I know everyone in the room is listening as well. These are just a few of the quotes. I have a handout here. There's a lot of quotes on the back, and we have quotes downstairs. Now, a little more of a reality check here. When you feel at home, if your medical care, your emotional situations, or even your sleep or bathroom habits were talked about in front of others, how would you feel? I'm going with none of us would want that to happen, right? We'd be embarrassed. We'd want to find a space to talk to the doctor privately. And our state and federal laws require that nursing homes provide a home-like environment. That's not happening in all these situations. Roommates are there, family visits, you just want to rest, you don't feel well, you can't lay down. There's staff talking in the room, in the middle of the room, because it's the only place for them to go. We know that overcrowding isn't just about personal comfort. It's about harmful experiences and human cost. A study published in the Journal of American Geriatric Society 10 years ago found that shared rooms lead to higher stress levels, more sleep disturbances, and fewer meaningful interaction, pointing out that residents lose a sense of control that makes their life their own. The World Health Organization has said for years that privacy is a fundamental part of dignity. Take it away and you strip residents of their identity and emotional state. Research from the 2021 Journal of American Medical Science nursing homes had almost double the infection rate, mortality rate compared to homes with private or semi-private rooms. Double. That's not only a risk to the person and how they feel, that's a risk financially. It's got all those infections, hospital stays. I want to make sure we're clear, we're not just talking about wanting comfort and an environment that's pleasing. It's about a lot more. It's about medical health, well-being, safety, and human rights. I can ask why this matters, why we need to do this now. I've even heard that some residents like the rainy situation. I would like to be introduced to them. I'd like to offer each of them a private room next to their friends, let them live there for 1 week, and then ask them if they all want to move back in. I don't get calls in my office because people are telling us that they are upset that they're asked to move out of a 3 or 4 bedroom. 2 bedrooms mean more privacy. Residents can talk to their doctor, visit with their families, less noise, fewer sleep disturbances, lower stress, less illness spread throughout the air and on surfaces, and more dignity. A small thing to ask. Every day, respect and people feeling human again. It's not a radical change or out of the blue. It's overdue, and it was heavily debated with compromises made as advocates and residents talked about wanting it right away, and the industry wanted it pushed back and to have time to use. So we waited until the upcoming summer of 2026 for the phase out. And now we're hearing that there's pushback and it's hard to implement and it's expensive. It will impact the bottom line and that numbers of more time. I'm sorry, first, you've had time, you were given time. And now it's not the time to be talking about this. We should have talked about this ahead of time. This change has been on the table for years now and has had a long on-ramp. Working with DSS and DPH has been an opportunity. We encourage homes to do that, and I'm sorry, but it needs to be a priority now. We can't make dignity or nursing homes not a facility without putting residents first. I hear often that, why am I calling it a facility? I'll call a nursing home when it feels like a nursing home. I'm disappointed, I've said this week, I'm disappointed we're sitting here at this point. Effort is what it takes to make change, but living in a tiny crowded room with 3 other people takes endurance, and residents have been enduring this for long enough. I will note, I've seen nursing homes make this transition. I've worked with a couple of the nursing homes. They've done it through attrition, smart planning, and respect of resident choice. It took some work. I know my team members had to be out there a lot, but it got done. It's doable, and it's the right thing to do for residents to thrive. I want to be clear, I am not anti-industry. I'm the exact opposite. I'm pro-industry. I'm pro a healthy industry where people live a high quality of life and they're happy to call their home their home. Every single one of us advocates, policymakers, and providers share the moral duty to protect the dignity and well-being of the residents we serve. Limiting to 2 bedrooms is not a bureaucratic tweak. It is a statement and a commitment that Connecticut is making to our long-term care residents. You have a home, you matter, your autonomy matters, your dignity matters. We owe the residents this. It's not cost control, it's not overhead, it's about the people we serve. So let's lead with compassion, courage, and common sense, and finally make our nursing homes for everyone a place where their well-being isn't compromised. Showing dignity is not too much to ask from them. We have set up downstairs in the lobby what a 4-bedroom looks like. We went out, we measured this week, we looked. I'm also going to pass around some pictures that were taken with resident permission of what the rooms look like, what the experience is for them. Front and back, I've labeled our concerns on them, and I'm also going to hand out some of the quotes and the issues from thank you.
Right on time. Thank you.
Good, thanks.
I want to make the comment, it was my error that we did not meet the deadline for this working group. It just like went past the past 2 years, and I had been in touch with DPH, DSS, nursing homes, and felt that everybody was working together because we all care. To move this forward. When it was brought to my attention 3 weeks ago, we immediately put this together. That's why we couldn't get a room. So I think this conversation is really good, and I appreciate everyone being here. And now I'm looking forward to hear the industry side. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a brief, I'm sorry. I'm Matthew Barrett, President and Chief Executive Officer and the Association of Healthcare Facilities. And I have a brief introductory remark on the kind of large question of addressing nursing home bed supply now and into the future. You know, it might be actually the best I can do, but I appreciate and often hear that I'm hard to hear. But is anybody else having difficulty hearing me? How about this? I provided a written copy of my introductory remarks. I don't intend to deviate from that. Would that be okay with you? So in this regard, our association did develop a multifaceted and policy-oriented proposal to address a number of the nursing home bed supply issues that are present now and that we anticipate into the future. The proposal was developed in 4 sessions with top industry leaders facilitated by me at CHCL. And it addresses what we think are the major issues related to nursing home bed shortages and bed needs with measured incremental policies to meet the current and anticipated demands. The proposal specifically addresses a full range of rate setting, waiver, CON reforms, renovation costs in the planning construction process that will be necessary to transfer into compliance. Yes, the proposal also includes measures to assist nursing homes with compliance and transition to the new two-bedroom configurations rule. But that's just a component of that. And I wanted to emphasize that this wasn't a industry proposal that was developed in response to legislation. This was a concerted months-long effort that involved a significant amount of work. And so I want to add that the question of compliance on the issue it obviously is becoming the centerpiece of these conversations. Well, there's a larger industry issue concerning bed supply, but we're happy to address the two-bed supply issue. And I did want to say that the two-bedroom issue, while we are not opposed to transitioning to the two-bedroom, I want to be really clear about that. We were not opposed to that in the enabling legislation. But the issue of transitioning to two-bedrooms is seriously a much more complicated question today, even as compared to 2 years ago, because of bed supply issues that are even exacerbated as we move towards 90% occupancy. Now, that is not a statement in opposition to the two-bedroom, that's just a statement of the reality of the situation we find ourselves in. We want to address what we're hearing related to concerns, the suggestion that we're not moving quickly enough. And I think our providers, in a straightforward manner, will be doing that in their presentations. They're going to be very quick, Representative Garabay. And so we're going to begin with Steve Vera, and he'll be followed by Denise Quarles, followed by Michael Floss.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the co-chairs, Representative Garabay, Senator Hockville, and Representative Fortier, and Representative Belinsky for the opportunity to convene the group of other distinguished participants. It's interesting, as I've sat and watched him, much of my comments have been spoken about by Nicole or Matt, but I think it's really important to recognize, as Matt indicated, we are supportive of the shift to two bedrooms. However, it is more complicated and it is a challenge. For example, Wachusett had an easiest approach for accomplishing the goal. Couldn't do construction. We looked at that. The only way to do the construction was to go vertical, and that wasn't going to work. So we started to talk with Nicole and began looking at our opportunities for raise. And we were able to reach an agreement. However, not everyone has it quite as easy. I think you're going to hear from two other providers who have different situations that are far more complicated and make this situation difficult although it sounds like we should have had this taken care of by now, it hasn't been easy. My position is that we had the easiest route. Nicole, thank you. The department worked with us closely, and we were able to get something accomplished, and we're thankful for that. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Good to see you again. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce Denise Quarles.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Again, my name is Denise Quarles, and I represent Savita Care. We operate 11 nursing homes in Connecticut, 5 of which we just acquired within the last 3 months. I've worked in long-term care over 30 years. I'd like to just say that I started out in social work and did that for the first 5.5 years of my career. And I just want to go on record that I agree with everything Marie said Barbara said about, you know, quality of care for the residents. 2 bedrooms will enhance quality of life, provide safety, Barbara much pointed out as well, and provide a more home-like environment. And I think until recently, a lot of questions still need to be answered and had to be answered. And I guess it's how are we going to get there? So again, we are in agreement. And we're glad we're here today. So again, we're looking for questions to be answered so we can move forward with a sustainable plan. For a little background, at our Milford facility, the bed configuration to no more than 2 beds per room would reduce capacity when we looked at it from 120 beds to 70. So this is a 42% reduction in beds. We also need to reduce beds at our newly acquired home in Bristol, Connecticut. That is just a few beds, though, I believe. We have had limited conversations with regulatory authorities. We have met with architects. We had spoke to life safety, and we're working on a plan to preserve as many beds as possible at our Milford home. Unfortunately, we couldn't move forward with it because of bed clearance requirements. So at this point, at that point, it looked like it was a no-go. However, with more clarity, questions answered, we are revising those plans again with the architects. And now we have questions regarding reimbursements for the cost of planning and architectural designs when a renovation is needed. If a plan were not approved at Milford, a complete restructuring of the facility bed capacity would require the restructuring of Medicaid rates. Milford, again, would eliminate nearly half of their beds. Other considerations to bed reduction include a layoff to a large portion of the workforce. It also may reduce access for high acuity behavioral health residents. Our Milford facility cares for a high population of complex behavioral residents. Reducing capacity without a coordinated plan could have a negative impact on discharging hospitals. We all know that bed supply is tight and statewide occupancy is above 90%. As I say, I was thinking back, and I believe back in 2020, the Milford occupancy was, I don't know, I think it had like 60-something patients. And like I said, we, you know, increased our capacity. I believe today we're at 112. We do have another thought at Savita Care. We do have available space for bed relocation at our Cheshire and Danbury locations. Transferring beds would not create any new Medicaid certified beds. And the availability of beds in those areas may not be adversely affected if we did move those beds. This may be a viable option if transfer of beds could be considered by DSS. Transfer of residents to these units would have to, which have not been used as the beds got decertified years ago, would also create the need for renovations. And again, we would need to know if DSS would reimburse for those renovation costs. If discharging or limiting admissions during a renovative process, an interim adjustment to rates may be needed to reflect the cost of a decreased census overall. Would the 90% occupancy rule be waived during this time for purposes of DSS calculating future rates? An expedited and streamlined certificate of need process would be helpful to process proposals submitted in accordance with the policy objective. Before we can responsibly move forward, these issues need to be resolved. A waiver of deadlines for facilities demonstrating progress or awaiting municipal or other government approval in transitioning to the 2-bedroom configurations should be reviewed. Finally, a realistic time period to ensure that these goals are met needs to be considered. We look forward to working in partnership with the state on a plan that does not financially cripple our home while we continue to offer needed care and services to our residents in Milford. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Michael Floss, CFO with Eye Care Health Network. Thank you for taking the time for this meeting. I really appreciate it. I just want to say first, we support de-densification of nursing homes in Connecticut. We agree with May Reed that these are not ideal situations. And we will comply with the law July 1st. We're absolutely going to comply with whatever's decided. I do want to point out, Barbara, you mentioned the 691 beds. You're right that the number is a little inflated. We have actually gone ahead and de-licensed 3 and 4 bedrooms on our own through license bed reductions that Nicole and her team worked through with us, because they were 3 and 4 bedrooms and they weren't occupied. So it was very easy for us. They weren't being paid for at the time. We didn't have the staff to fill those beds because there were no patients in those beds. And we went ahead and did that. And we reduced dozens of 3 and 4 bedrooms on our own without this law. So we completely agree that this needs to happen. However, there are some dollars and cents issues here. We've got 3 homes that I've been involved with since their inception, or some of them up to 22 years ago when I started with the company. They've been full. They're full now. They're 95 to 99% occupied. They're in areas that are all fully occupied, 90% plus occupancy. There's some complexities with that when you have fully occupied 3 and 4 bedrooms. We would like to do construction and take series of, for example, in one of our homes, there's 3 4 bedrooms in a row in hallway. We want to reconfigure those so that there are 2 bedrooms, which means some of them will be a little smaller each one, so we can fit as many in those 2 bedrooms as possible to still maintain the economics of the nursing home. But that means we have to, through attrition over a long period of time, while maintaining resident rights, allow people to leave those rooms. They would have to, through attrition, leave, then do the construction, and then refill those rooms. So that's going to be an elongated process to make that happen. So that's one of the reasons we haven't gone too far with this, with the construction. We did order plans right away, right after the law was passed in August of 2024. We have some conceptual plans, and we look forward to working with Nicole and her team on a submission. I did send some initial questions to Nicole recently, and she got back to me right away, which is great. The phasing of this construction is very complicated. Before being in the nursing home business, I was in commercial real estate for about 15, 20 years, did a lot of construction. I've been involved in these things, and restacking or rephasing a building to do construction is very complicated. You have tenants or residents involved. And then there's some financing issues associated with these types of things. It's a lot of capital that has to be laid out to accomplish some of these goals. So, and we are concerned, the other thing we're concerned about, as we reduce licensed beds, what happens to the staff? We have staff that's going to be affected. If there's less beds, we're going to have less staff. That's just the reality of the business. I do have a slide that they're up there, great. That we have at our Manchester location, we have 13 beds that are in 3 and 4 bedrooms. Our Meriden location, 45 beds that are in 3 and 4 bedrooms. And then our specialty project in Rocky Hill, 60 West, if some of you have heard of that, that has 6 that are fully occupied presently. We have plans on Meriden and Manchester location, and look forward to working to reduce those beds. It's going to take time. It literally could take years for us to restack the building with the construction because of the resident rights, following all those laws, and refilling the beds once the construction is done. And the other, we have HUD loans on all these properties. We have to get their consent to reduce licensed beds. That's not a simple process. We've had to do this in the past, and it takes months and months and months to do. We recently refinanced our HUD debt in August of 2025, and we're able to get some of this work financed through contingency funding with HUD, but we need to put together an entire plan to make that happen. That's all I have. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. Good information on both sides. I'd like to start off with a question, probably for Nicole. Of the nursing homes that are 3 and 4 bedrooms, have most of them reached out? Barbara might know too, to the state to say, is this all just happening now? Or have people been working on this with you? Has everyone been in to talk to you about their concerns in their facility? What does that look like? Can you talk really loud? I'm sorry.
That's not a problem. The conversations are recent, so as I mentioned, Steve, we've been in discussion now, I think, for a couple of months or so. You know, Steve was kind of the first person to raise his hand and say, I think it is complicated, I mean, we do recognize that, especially when you have limited ability to do construction, you know, you have to think about what the revenue projections are going to be, you know, we do understand the financing, construction costs, architectural costs, the attrition, the staff planning, there's a lot of moving pieces. So Steve was kind of the first person who raised his hand that we started having this conversation. And as Michael mentioned, he just contacted us a few days ago with the first round of questions.
And I can add to that, the TPH has been working with Wachusett, and I went back to my emails, Steve, for a couple of years.
Yeah.
On the 3 and 4 bed configuration, and also I checked in with our life safety code unit, who would have the responsibility for the plan review, construction plans. And they too have been working with Savita and with ICAP on both of those. Not as long as the Wachusett, but I know Tony indicated, Denise, that he's been working with you on work plans, and Michael, you and Tony talked, I care when Tony talked.
Okay, thank you. Senator Hockendahl?
I think you stole the question.
Oh,
right
I'm
out of
sorry.
it. I was looking at Denise's questions and some of them were answered by Nicole. So I guess my question was to Denise, have you reached out to look for waivers and to work with the department on your question?
So I do agree, there's been limited reach out over the last few years. I think having to bring change of ownerships since I've been there in 2020 have further complicated the issues. But I know that Jay Pepper has recently reached out, and fairly recently we reached out to TPH. I've spoken with Tony, and that was our first architectural plans that really aren't going to work, because I think in the end, I'm not sure Milford really has the space to keep the beds. In our Bristol facility, which is, I said, newly acquired, I don't think it's gonna be an issue at all. The rooms are very large, and I think it will be a fairly simple fix. But again, the Milford, location is where, you know, all the big questions, and I did hear what Nicole said at the beginning regarding the reimbursement, and that's reassuring. I think that, we had thought that there was gonna be more of a work group where these questions could be answered, but I understand it's our responsibility to reach out, which we are putting together a plan now. One of the new ideas we had was that possibly transferring the beds, like I said, to either Cheshire or Danbury. Cheshire, which may have more of a need for, you know, due to occupancy, and there only being like 3 nursing homes now in Waterbury. I don't know if that would even be an option for the state. And again, those 2 facilities historically had more beds, so that's why they each have an entire vacant floor. So if those areas, you know, would benefit from beds as well, it could be an option to move those beds, and again, not creating any more certified beds. You know, the same number of beds in Connecticut, because I understand it's more. I don't know if that would be an option as well, but I think you can reach out.
Sure, the movement of beds would need to be discussed with all 3 agents about cash. So the TSS, for the payers, we don't have authority around that, we can settle that is required to license counts, so that would all be and of course, you know, resident rights and rate. So we're having a conversation with that a little bit more broader.
But with a
Thank you.
broad stroke, what I'm understanding is that the agencies are willing to work with the industry to help them better comply with 5046. Is that my understanding across the board?
Yeah.
And that's what we want. And I thought that was happening, and I think it has to some respect. But did you have a question?
I absolutely, actually, it's less of a question, but it can be, but, I have some observations. I say this and people, typically don't believe it, but I'm not a politician. I'm a 30-year marketing person. I came to this job, God knows how, but, my whole life has been putting people together, not tearing them apart. And what I see here is a failure to communicate. And, I'm not going to say who caused it because it's a group thing type of thing. But, human nature also dictates that, usually we don't attend to our priorities until they catch fire. So how delays happen is not important at this point because we have residents that don't have the living facilities that provide them the dignity, quality of life, and the ability to stay healthy and virus-free that they deserve. So from here on out, we have to have a common goal. That common goal is to put the industry together with people like Nicole and stop trying to change the spirit of a particular piece of legislation that I believe is a very, very good piece of legislation. Or I would not have voted for it, nor would I have co-introduced it. So, ladies and gentlemen, the disagreements are it's on timing, because the capital investment piece, and Paul has already told us, is part of the statute for us to share costs. Right? Remember the word share. This is all a share. As far as staff layoffs go, we're living in a state that has serious labor shortages across them. Very much all of its healthcare components of that end of our lives. So, you know, for the couple or few dozen folks that might be displaced by a shrinking of beds in one facility, as we transfer them to a Cheshire or to a Danbury, with their permission, following the guidelines of other legislation that we've laid down, I think it's reasonable to expect that we can reemploy every single one of them plus more as we prepare people to do this job. So what do we agree on? Resident care, quality of life, dignity, everybody thinks that's cool. Why are we fighting? Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is really important because it's like it's a life lesson. We all have the same intent. Let's just work together and get this thing fixed. And we understand, as do the agencies, that not everything can be done tomorrow. So it was a 2-year period. All right, we've gotten a late start. I don't think that anybody's waiver for a little bit more time or a little bit more time to engineer or plan has been denied yet. So I think the work is in front of us, and what happened before is unnecessary. So that's the marketing person in me, not the politicians. Everybody take a little bit of accountability and let's not do this anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments per se? Well, I think we have a lot of information. I agree that this meeting was very good. It's good to have everybody in the same room talking and understanding. And that was the purpose of the working group. We do have a meeting set up for next week. Oh, who's raising?
I was just gonna say,
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't see.
I appreciate all of you, I appreciate everybody thinking about the timing.
Donnie, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, my name is Donnie Smokia. I helped with you guys on this bill. It's been a while, so. So all I was gonna say is, one, I think you see the ability for the agency, or the industry, to be. I just wanna know on the timing as well, the bill is on attrition. That allows a little bit of timing for us to figure out as well, so I do wanna say that as well. So there is a built in, a little bit of timing when the law goes into effect, a little bit of timing that we follow. So I think there was willingness from the administration, from the agency to work through this. At some point, I think the Senate, whoever has this PowerPoint, you can share it with us. Look at these questions as well, you guys have raised, and I think it's productive and we'll work through this as we go through. So I want to thank everyone here. We'll work through this. So, hey, you're right. That's all.
Thank you, Simon.
Can I comment on that? Tom?
Yep.
Thank you. I agree it's through attrition, but what you've seen in our industry, since COVID is rapidly progressing occupancy levels, right? So the challenge is gonna be the attrition, which we all agree with, is gonna take potentially even longer because now we have rising occupancy levels. My facilities have been over 92% pretty consistently for the last 18 months, maybe longer. And I'm using 26% of my beds in 2 facilities, so that's a significant number of people that are gonna be impacted. And if we do it through attrition, it's gonna be, not that we don't want to.
Can you explain?
Yeah.
What is attrition?
Well, so the attrition would be, as Barbara referenced in her early comments. Somebody needs a 3-bedroom. That bed doesn't have that kind of service. That is gonna take, I'm losing 34 beds in one building, 32 in another, and then 10 in the third. My organization, I'm a small organization, I have 4 nursing homes, I'm gonna go from 380 beds to 200 and I don't know the number off the top of my head, but the point is, it's significant. The attrition to what they have makes the occupancy decline, so you're having to move people through that process. A larger number of people now to meet the regulation.
Mhm. Okay, so, we're coming to our time. Does everyone still want to meet next Friday? That's my first question.
I'm not gonna be available on Wednesday. Friday, that's not open.
Hmm? Hmm?
I'd like to remind everybody that, this bill was a governor's bill, it was a very high priority to the governor's office, which is why we have folks like Zani, and Claudio Gutierrez here today. They have an interest in this because of the quality of life issue, so, they also, are pretty understanding folks that are willing to work with us on all of this. So we need to have the conversation between this gentleman and Nicole about what's the Medicaid adjustment that could possibly occur so that it's not quite the financial hit that it is. Until that number is put on a piece of paper, we don't know what we're talking about. None of us do. So that's.
So the question is, are you guys just gonna get together, or is this valuable to be having the conversation at least a couple of more times to see how we're moving forward? Do you need us at the table, or are you guys gonna work together? What do you want? It is a working group. We could go on for 2 years, God forbid, but we could. Donnie? Ken.
I was just, I think the dialogue here, very, everything, I think, that a learning for all of that. I think it would be very helpful to have another meeting of the, trying to share ideas that have been thrown out. We appreciate again, the agency was better, but I think the dialogue should continue.
Okay.
If legislative, someone can do it, you think. So if you think dialogue, we get, thank you very much for doing this, because it's very helpful to all of us.
Let us just consult here a minute, please. So what we'd like to do, and I know there's been a lot of moving spirits, next week is really quick for us because we're just getting our bills out and in our timeline. Would Friday, March 6th, would people be in general available to meet? We'll be a lot more low key. We may not be filming or anything else, just get together and hash out some of the items. March 6th, good?
Works for me.
Okay, and if we have to go early, is 8, 9 o'clock too early? Good. Hey, the traffic was nothing this morning. You just got to pray for rain.
I apologize, I have to leave. I have to go vote in environmental committees, as we all know these days.
Thank you. So with that, I thank everyone for coming and for taking the time and putting everything for all your presentations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And